everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm here with I almost said March, with my February reading wrap up. I know, I'm getting really bad about getting these up like promptly at the end of the month, but it is what it is. At least I'm getting them posted at some point, I guess. So yeah, I actually have an idea for starting in April. We'll see if it like actually happens, but I have an idea. But we have to get through March first. Anyways, so in February, I read 7 books. And yeah, I mean, it was an okay reading month. I did have a couple like 3-ish star reads, but overall another solid reading month for 2022. So let's just dive on in. So first up, I read The Wedding Party by Jasmine Gilroy, which is book 3 in her like wedding date series. I gave this one like 3.5 stars. Also, by the way, a lot of the books that I read this month or in February were library books, and I had to return them. So there's going to be lots of pictures up, The Wedding Party being one of them. So in The Wedding Party, we follow 2 friends. I don't know, I don't have any of their names because I'm taking advantage of the fact that I'm on my lunch break right now and that my mother-in-law has little man, and so I'm just hopping into this no like real notes. So we follow the 2 friends of Alexis, one of those 2, who is like one of the main characters from The Wedding Date. And they have kind of always been at odds. Oh gosh, what are their names? Those will be here because I can't remember their names. So one of them is her coworker and another one is just like her best friend. And they end up like kind of like randomly hooking up after a party, and then like continue to kind of like hook up until they kind of realize that they have real feelings for each other. So that's like the basic premise of the story. I enjoyed it, but not as much as I've enjoyed the other 2 books, The Wedding Date and The Proposal. This one, a lot of like the first part of the book was a very like sexy time focused, because these 2 characters didn't like each other at first. So like it really was all about sex. So there was a lot of just sexy time. Once you kind of got into it and they started realizing that they had feelings for each other and they started confiding in each other a little bit more and like having real conversations, things got more interesting for me and I enjoyed it a lot more. So not my favorite, not horrible. I contemplated DNFing it because of all the sexy time, because that's just not my like favorite thing to read. But I realized what was happening and why it was so like sexy time focused. So I pushed through it and ended up enjoying it. So it was all right. Next up, I listened to A Man Called Uve. I still don't know how to pronounce this if you watch my reading vlogs, by Frederick Bachman. This I gave 4 to 4.5 stars. We'll call it 4.25 stars. A very good audiobook. I really enjoyed the audiobook. And overall a really good book as well. So in this, you follow this older gentleman named Uve. I think it's Uve. And he's kind of like crudmungeon-y, is that the word? Like he's just like an old crotchety kind of old man. He's retired and his wife is like no longer around. So he kind of is lacking purpose, I guess. And so he's just kind of a grumpy old man. And he starts to feel like, what's the point of even being alive? Like, I don't have a job. I don't have my wife isn't here anymore. Like, what's the point? And so I will say there are multiple times throughout this book where he is like executing a plan to like no longer be here. And every time that he goes to execute this plan, the plan is foiled in some way or another. And I really enjoyed it. I've said this in my vlogs where he reminds me like of what Jimba, my dog, would be if Jimba was a human, just like a grumpy old man. And so I was like endeared to him. I really enjoyed the like relationships that developed between him and some of his neighbors. You do get some of his time with his wife, like throughout their marriage, how he ended up in the neighborhood that he lives in, things like that. It was just a really sweet story and showed like how important our like interactions with people are, even if we don't really think that we're like making a difference. Like, okay, I only talk to this person once a week, like I'm nothing to them, but like we really are. So we're something to someone. So really, really sweet, cute book. Then the next two books that I read were Till Death Do Us Tart and Live and Let Pie by Ellie Alexander. Books 8 and 9, I think, in the Big Shot Mystery series. Those both got 5 stars. I loved both of them. I'm trying to remember the exact like plots of each of them. I'm pretty sure that both of these kind of more closely follow Lance, who is one of Jules' friends that lives in Ashland. I'm pretty sure they both did, if I'm remembering the two correctly. And some of Lance, you get some of Lance's background, which I love. Lance is such a like, I don't know if eccentric's the right word, but he's just a good solid like side character, if you will. So you get to learn a little bit more about him in both of those books. We also get to know, like you get a little bit more of Jules' mom and the professor, which is fun. And another thing that happens in, I want to say it's Live and Let Pie, is there's some renovations to the bake shop, so to Tart, so you get to see more of that. And I'm pretty sure, okay, Till Death Do Us Tart is more focused on Lance, because Lance, there's some stuff going on in Lance's family that brings some drama into Ashland. So that's like kind of a very basic plot synopsis of Till Death Do Us Tart. In Live and Let Pie, there is kind of like a cold case that turns up while Jules is helping her mom do some house hunting. And this cold case ends up also tying into another case that is not a cold case, like an active case, also in Ashland. And so that's fun and exciting. So both of those were so good. I'm loving the Bake Shop series. Such a good time. Then I listened to the audiobook of Inheritance by Dani Shapiro. This I read for my in-person book club. It's a memoir, and I gave it 4 stars. I was insanely intrigued by Dani Shapiro's story. So this follows her as she takes, it starts off with her half-sister saying, like, letting her know that her half-sister had some like genetic markers for some disease, some like something, and I don't remember what it was. And so Dani ends up, I think she starts off by doing the genetic testing, but I could be wrong. But then she also, where like the story picks up is she also does the Ancestry DNA test. And if you've done the Ancestry DNA test or something similar, I mean, I'm pretty sure like 23andMe is similar. I've done Ancestry DNA, so I know how Ancestry DNA works. Basically, you get like your DNA results, but you also get like basically like a family tree. So anyone else that has done Ancestry DNA that like shares DNA with you, it will like connect you. So like when I did Ancestry DNA, I was immediately connected to my grandmother, to my father, to like cousins, things like that. And then like when my mom did it, I was connected to like, or she and I connected as well. So when you like you constantly get like updates, like as more people that you are related to do this DNA testing. So Danny does the like DNA test result, or does the DNA test or the Ancestry DNA, gets like, I think it takes like, I don't remember. Well, in my case, there was a problem in that I apparently can't spit correctly. FYI, you have to spit correctly. So mine took a little bit longer, but I think like it's like 3 to 4 weeks and you get your results or something. So she gets these results, she logs in, and she gets like connected to someone that says that it says is like her first cousin, and she has no idea who this person is. She's like, I know all of my cousins. Who the heck is this? And so at first, her and her husband think that Ancestry DNA must have made a mistake, like must have like mixed up her like DNA with someone else or something. Then they end up finding, nope, there was no mistakes. Like this is like basically uncovering this like huge like family secret that I always thought like when like, I mean, this must happen like more often than we hear about, where like you learn that you are not who you think you are because of these DNA testing like things, like you like connect with someone that you don't even know. And so that's basically what happens. And so the story kind of goes from there, like her experiences after she finds out that this like that she is like her family is not necessarily who she thinks they are. And it talks about like what actually like happened in her life, and like you also got a lot of the insight to like what she was like thinking and going through, because she is from this like very like traditional Jewish family where like your like lineage is very important, and she now learns like I'm not who I thought I was. Like, what does that mean for me, like within my religion? What does that mean for me, like within my family? Things like that. And so it really is like, who am I? Like, and like kind of like a little bit of like an identity crisis. So I really enjoyed it. There were some things that I wasn't like super thrilled with. Like she says a lot of like, woe is me, but then also talks about like going on like these like elaborate summer vacations, or like having like dinner or lunch or whatever with like Giada De Laurentiis. Like, okay, like, yeah, I can't relate to that, but whatever. So there were some things that like kind of like irked you a little bit. Like I didn't pick up on it as much as some of my like book club members who read it physically, because I listened to the audio and I listened to it primarily when I was working. So I didn't get as annoyed as it seems some of my book club members did. But overall, it was a very intriguing story and I really enjoyed it. Then I read Loves Music, Loves to Dance by Mary Higgins Clark. I read this for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge. The challenge was to read a book with love in the title. I gave this, we'll call it 3.25 stars. This was not my favorite Mary Higgins Clark book. I will say that. It is one of her earlier books. This was written in 1991. I was 3, depending on when it was published. And first, let me tell you what it's about. So this follows Erin Kelly and Darcy Scott. They've been friends since college, like they're best friends. They moved to New York City, and So Erin is a jewelry designer. Darcy is like is an interior decorator, basically. And these two end up helping out another one of their friends by answering these personal ads. So like, this is back in the day of like personal ads, like, before Tinder. And so they're answering these personal ads to kind of like this, their other friend, what's her friend's name? I want to say it's like Nat or something. Like who's a journalist and wants to do like a story on like personal ads, how successful they are, like, just like a general story about personal ads. Again, it'd kind of be like a reporter or like a journalist doing a story on Tinder success stories today. So they start answering these personal ads. Erin has a date with one of these, is meeting up with one of these guys and ends up going missing. And Darcy, who had kind of pushed Erin into like helping their friend out, because Erin was kind of like, no, I don't want to do that. Darcy ends up feeling like super, super guilty because she's convinced that Erin has gone missing because of these like personal ads. Yeah, so that's the plot. And basically it turns out that there is this like serial killer who has been killing women for like 15 years or something like that. Yeah, so that whole thing gave me very like Criminal Minds vibes, which I love that show. It like freaks me out sometimes, but like I really enjoy it. And like, getting into like the mind of a serial killer, because you do get the serial killer's perspective. You don't know who he is, but you get like his perspective at times. So that was interesting. I enjoyed the friendship. I mean, yes, this is obviously super dated because it was written in 1991, and so there's not like cell phones. There's not, there's GPS, but not like, in today's world where everyone has a cell phone on them and you can ping GPS on your cell phone. Personal ads, things like that. But like, I feel like the general story is still relevant if you change out a few of those details. Like it could happen today just with some details updated to match the times. What I didn't enjoy is there were a lot of characters, and you get a lot of characters' perspectives that I don't feel had any purpose in the story other than to throw you off the scent, if you will, of who done it. Like, there are other Mary Higgins Clark books where there are a lot of like perspectives and there are a lot of like possibilities of who done it, but those characters are also like relevant to the story. And I feel like in this particular book, there were a lot of like unnecessary characters that were just thrown in for the sole purpose of like, oh, is it this guy? And so I feel like there could have been significantly less characters. And we didn't need to be like thrown off the scent as much as we were. Yeah, so that's that. It was okay, not my favorite. And I don't know if it's like, I've read a lot more of Mary Higgins Clark, more recent books, and I tend to like those better. So I don't know if that's what it was. I don't know. If she was still like coming to her own as a writer when she wrote this, I don't know. I don't know how many books she had written before this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe, assuming that list is accurate. But that's that. Then the last book I read in February, which I technically finished on March 1st, but I read most of it in February, so I'm including it here, is An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I gave this 4.5 stars. I listened to this audio and I really enjoyed it. As I said in my vlogs, I enjoyed The Wife Between Us a little bit more, but overall I did really enjoy this. So in this one, you are following Jessica Ferris, who I believe she's like 28. She's around that age. And she lives in the city and she's trying to earn some extra money. She's a makeup artist who I guess dreams of like working in like showbiz, like Broadway type things. But she's not, obviously. And she just like, she works as like a makeup artist for like this company called Beauty Buzz. And she is looking to earn some extra money. She hears about this study, like a psychological study, from one of her clients. And she ends up going and participating in this study, gets like $500 or whatever it was for this like study, and then gets like asked to do some like follow-up things and gets paid every time she does these like follow-up like questions, like meetings with this psychology professor, Dr. Shields. Long story short, without giving anything away, this psychological study is not exactly what Jessica thought it was. Dr. Shields is asking her to do things that are kind of odd, and Jessica quickly learns that maybe this isn't exactly what she signed up for. In this, you get alternating perspectives between Jessica and Dr. Shields. Dr. Shields' perspective is written in second person, which might have bothered me a little bit more had I been reading it physically, but listening to it was fine. Like, so she's saying you, but when she's saying you, she's talking to Jessica, which was interesting. Like I said, I don't love second person, so it might have bothered me more had I read it physically, but it didn't bother me at all listening to the audio. Yeah, really, like it was a very solid book. I have loved I've loved all three of the books by this author duo that I have read. Side note, I just got their newest release a couple weeks ago, so will read that, let you know what I think about that when I read that. But really good, really solid, great audiobook. It's there's two narrators, one for each perspective, which helps as well. Yeah, so that is my February wrap up. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts were on them, all that good stuff. That is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy reading.